The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's got off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse! Excellent!
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Get away from her, you bitch!
And like that, he's gone.
Welcome to another episode of Blokebusters. I'm Paul. Brian, hello? Oh yeah, Brian's not here. His cat's sick or something. So instead, I decided to get a hold of someone called Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hello.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, two people called Paul. Yes, that would, that would explain
You
it.
buy one, you get one free.
Yes.
And if you're also called Paul, then you get a fourth one, so there should be another one coming along soon.
Yes, exactly. So I got a hold of Paul Salt and Paul Goodman from the One Good Thing podcast. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, we're doing very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, pretty good. End of the weekend.
How are you, third Paul?
I am doing alright, although not sure I like the third Paul.
No, I suppose you're the first Paul.
Yes,
You are the first founding Paul.
Exactly, yes. Let's see. Before we get into the semantics of who the first, second, and third are, I feel
We'll work this out, guys.
Yes, it'll take a while. Why don't you guys explain your podcast, what it is you do?
Sure. Paul, do you want to have a good old whack at it?
Oh, go on then. We're a positive pair, and we like to think that there is something of worth in every film, no matter how bad or offensive or maligned. And that is our mission statement: to take seemingly worthless films and find something good in them. And try not to have mental or physical breakdowns in the process.
Absolutely. We assert that no film is truly worthless, and we challenge ourselves every week by taking on cinematic dreck to see if we can find a good old quality in there, even if it's just the way someone said a word that we liked.
Yeah, and we haven't been beaten yet, thanks to semantics.
Yes. Yeah, well, semantics, that's where everything lives. You live and die by semantics.
Yeah, if we can keep succeeding on technicalities, then that's fine with us, as long as we can go on existing and just making dick jokes.
God, the minute we find a worthless film, we'll just crumble into dust.
We will just, it's like the paradox for robots, we'll just stop existing somehow. But until then, we're going to make our way through the Adam Sandler-verse.
So it's a high-stakes podcast, really.
Yeah.
We're fighting for our own existence.
And sadly, we'll never know what film that is, because you won't be able to edit and then put it out.
Shit.
No, that's true. We're going to have to start putting our podcasts on Twitch or something, live streaming all of them.
So that people can watch The Reckoning in person.
Oh, God, we'll save that for the anti-vax documentary.
The sad part about that is the question automatically follows of which anti-vax documentary, because I'm sure there's more than one.
Oh, no.
Oh, the worst one. Whatever that is.
Which worst anti-vax documentary?
Someone out there will have divined a means of differentiating between the awfulness of these, and we will gladly go where that man or woman has pointed us.
Roger Ebert wrote a guide on that, didn't he?
Terrible. So yes, before we get even further down that route, obviously we asked you guys here to discuss a film, and we thought what better film to discuss between the three Pauls than Paul, just to make it even more confusing down the line. So let's see how this goes, shall we? Is there anywhere that you guys want to start with this?
Well, I'll start with the scene that just played on my television, which is, I'm pretty sure, yes, I can verify this, in the opening sequence, in which, we'll get into a plot later, in which Simon Pegg and Nick Frost take a selfie in front of Jeffrey Tambor. No context needed there, we've all tried. Edgar Wright's clearly in the picture as well. As the guy Jeffrey Tambor presumably just told to fuck off. That's nice. So he's here in spirit.
Which is good. Perhaps could have done with a tiny bit more Edgar Wright throughout. Spread evenly like Marmite. Which was being kept in the fridge in this film, by the way.
What?
Which was nonsense. Which was grossly offensive.
Yeah, it's
But I
actually
don't know
on. It's on the IMDb page under inaccuracies or mistakes. Marmite is never kept in a fridge.
Yes, well, depending on where you are in the world, there are several things where the question is it in the fridge or is it out on the side? For instance, butter. Over here in America,
well, in this
butter
house-
is always in the fridge.
In my house, it's usually in the garbage. Just, keep buying it just so I can throw it straight out again.
Throw it at the police horses that come by every Saturday. But I'm a butter on the side kind of guy. Otherwise, how do you spread it?
I've heard that about you.
Same as Marmite, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of butter, like over here, let's say you're using it in cooking, you'll leave it out then. But butter that you actually use for spreading on something is generally in a tub and is the same consistency as margarine.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay. Well, that goes in the fridge. I'm not a monster.
Yeah.
But actual sort of proper, like proper countryside kind of butter, that stays out in a little jar or in one of those little fancy like plate and lid things. So
Yeah,
Paul,
one of those little
movie.
glass containment units.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
very much like the thing out of Superman that contain General Zod. I could suspend my butter in a constant state of suffering.
And that's one of the reasons that I didn't like Paul.
So
Well, yes. So this film, obviously, we mentioned Edgar Wright. This film is, I think, the first feature outing starring both Simon Pegg and Nick Frost not to have Edgar Wright attached to it. So,
Yeah.
Crucially, not writing as well as directing.
Yep,
Yeah.
no, this written by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
the
And
first film to be done so by that duo, because of course Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz were both written by Wright and Pegg.
yeah.
So is this Frost's first? He must have a feature credit somewhere along the line. Let me just.
I'm not sure. And you'd think that somebody would have done some research on that respect, but no.
That would have been lovely.
Yeah.
Any one of us could have done that. Any one of the Pauls.
Oh, that's the problem with having three Pauls, is they're all equal in status and responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to assume that it was his first feature writing.
No, just a couple of short films and a documentary. This was his first written credit, and the only other writing credit he has is the original idea for Cuban Fury. So,
Oh, okay. Which I
rare
didn't
writing
see.
credit for Nick. Nor did I.
Have no inclination to
Yeah,
be honest.
I feel like that's something that one day it'll just be on and I'll see it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend the time going out specifically to see it.
No, which is kind of the film that Paul feels like. To be honest, we were watching it Sunday afternoon, and it kind of felt like that film that comes on a Sunday afternoon when you're in your shorts and you're eating crisps and feeling a bit sort of sorry for yourself, and you've got work on Monday, so you might as well just watch something to kind of keep thoughts of death at bay.
Jesus Christ. Your Sundays are so stressful.
it's you've really got to like your job, and
Yeah, I think Philip Larkin described Sundays as such.
I bet he didn't watch Paul, though, is the issue. He probably
When
watched
Village
Shane
Green
or
and
something.
Thicker.
But you know how usually like westerns come on, and it's usually, or like Bridge Over the River Kwai or something. That's the kind of film I wanted to be watching, but instead I was given this.
You're strapped into
well.
Paul.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that at least one of you is not the biggest fan of this film.
Slander, sir.
I'm
Well-
not hearing a no.
Well, that's as maybe.
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
Dislike is. I mean,
I didn't say that.
yeah. I'm not fond.
Okay.
I wasn't overwhelmed by it. Let's say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Alright, so
More just disappointed. I think that's the main takeaway from this is
Disappointed.
being such massive fans of Pegg, Wright, and Frost to come into this. I mean, could have done better. I think.
So maybe you're just a bigger fan of Wright than you are of Frost and Pegg.
maybe he was the secret ingredient.
Well, I definitely think he was the secret. He was the secret ingredient to this ether. But
Yeah.
I'm very big fans of Pegg and Wright and Frost. It's
There's
just
another factor here that I hesitate to bring up because it's the factor I easily know the least about. But you mentioned it during, Paul, is the director, Greg Mottola, who also directed Superbad, Adventureland,
yeah.
various other American comedies.
I mean, I love Superbad. I think Superbad's excellent, but the combination, I think what was really lacking was Edgar Wright's influence, because the script was kind of similar, but I mean, we'll get into the problems with that at some point. Well, my problems anyway. But you're missing that sort of neatness that an Edgar Wright directed film has, where there's no flab, there's no a scene doesn't go on for too long, a joke doesn't go on for too long. It's very tight. It's sort of uber stylized, but in the most positive way. And there was just a bit too long on the end of every joke, just to make everything fall sort of flat in an Ant-Man kind of way.
Yeah, even the scenes that are sort of very sort of encouraged to even the scenes that are very improvised in things like Shaun of the Dead, like where you see them in the outtakes, like Nick Frost sort of describing the fellow customers in the bar was him basically improvising. Even that feels really tight, really well edited, and very succinct, to the point when you'd swear it was scripted. Here, you can tell there's some improvisation, and that people are just sort of waiting for the peak of a bit without necessarily reaching it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess before we start getting more into some of the things you may not have enjoyed, what are some of the things about this film that you really did like? Then?
There are plenty.
Plenty, yeah. Some of the... Okay, so coming off of what we just said about some of the comedy being awkward, let's focus on the comedy then, because this is, after all, a comedy movie. Yeah. Some of the jokes work really well. And really, it's a credit to some of the players that they've got. I really enjoyed... is it Kirsten or Kristen?
Kristen.
Kristen Wiig. I really enjoyed her in this. I enjoy her in most things. Not enough to really nail down a good pronunciation of her name, but enough to sort of be very happy when she appears on screen. And she was really good in this as the sort of religious person who encounters an extraterrestrial and freaks out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did write down in my notes that I can't tell you how many times I wish I could have just downloaded my knowledge into others, just to be like, look, here, like, here's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But what if they did it back to you and it's like, oh my God, there is a God! Of course, it all makes sense. That butterfly I saw that one time makes sense now.
The human eye, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, other characters. Bill Hader was fantastic.
Yes, I really liked him and his Brooklyn Nine-Nine buddy.
Joel Truglio or something like that.
That's exactly it. I was about to say, but you beat me to it. That duo. I really loved that duo. I don't know if the film did, because they're killed off / maimed quite casually in the script, but I liked them.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that the way that they were just so easily dispatched, as it were, is sort of a take on it's exactly what the big guy and Jason Bateman were kind of looking towards. They're just these two guys that are just in the way. Like, they just want to get rid of him, and then they just got rid of him. So it's like, oh, okay, well, that was easy. On to the next thing. I
could have sworn that eventually they would be won over. And indeed, the scene where they go into the comic shop and almost catch them, I could have sworn that was just building towards, they're going to win these FBI guys over. Mm-hmm. And then they'll come together to beat Jason Bateman. But I will say that was a pretty effective rug pull when it turned out Bateman was a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, back to the... I did actually quite like Jason Bateman in this, which is good, because other than Arrested Development and Horrible Bosses, I can't think of much that I have liked him in. It's been a number of disappointments, but one of my favourite things about the plot was how all of these disparate characters were coming together, and I haven't seen it since 2007. Is that when it came out?
Oh no, this is 2011, I believe.
Oh, was it? God, wow.
Yeah.
I've completely switched somebody out with like my cinema friend, whoever I went to see it with. Damn, I'm gonna have to rethink that particular memory
of this.
But
it's such a flawed person.
And that makes me interesting, right? In a narrative sense. So when I forgot about this aspect of it, but watching it again today, I thought, oh god, this is pretty cool. How you've got the dad played by Zodiac. What's his name?
Zodiac.
Yeah, played by Zodiac. You've got like the guys in the RV. You've got Bill Hader and Joe Truglio and Jason Bateman, and I think a couple of other people all converging onto this one point. And they're all kind of interesting characters in their own right, and they're all pretty cool. And I was enjoying like the wacky racist feel of everybody, going towards this one point. But then when those two guys were dispatched, fairly easily, it was like, well, that's two quite interesting foils that you've just gotten rid of. In order to have a scene where you go and pick up another character that we don't know about.
Yes, yeah.
Is it Tara?
Yes, the woman who first rescued Paul from his spaceship.
Yeah, that was a bit of a redundant character.
It was a little out there. I mean, it obviously made sense given the very end of the film that Paul would want to go and get her, but it did come completely out of the blue.
They could have just deleted the first scene of him crashing in front of her because it didn't really change anything. True.
Yeah, and I understand that it was just a way of putting that. They put that in so that when you turn back up at a random house, you're like, "Oh, is that the house from before?" And then you see it.
Unless that was an excuse just to kill off the two idiot twins.
I guess so. That was a gross. I just got to the scene where Jason Bateman is introduced, and he actually finds Nick Frost's puddle of urine where he peed himself, having seen Paul, and he sort of you see his finger dip into it, and then you see him spit the piss back out again. Gross. I hadn't noticed that upon my preliminary viewing. That was method.
Jason Bateman insisted on the urine for that.
He's a mad dog.
He is. He's a nasty boy.
Shall we stay focused on players? Is there anyone else who's really good in this? I quite liked Sigourney Weaver's voice performance as the sort of menacing mother figure. She had one line I really liked, and I can't remember what it was. It involved swearing.
You must have liked it a lot then.
I loved it. Oh man, it changed my life.
I loved it so much. Minor aneurysm. Forgotten the week, but never mind.
So,
what is this?
So the question then is, do you prefer her voice performance in this or her voice performance in Finding Dory?
Oh, who does she play in Finding Dory?
She plays Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, of course, yes. She's on the PA system.
Yep.
I found her swearing more appropriate in this. In Finding Dory, it was weird and a little off-putting.
Just a little bit, yes.
Give us some fucking whales, kids.
Am I right in thinking that she also had a voice performance in WALL-E?
Yes.
She played Mother
as the computer or something.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah,
yes.
Was it the...
Are you sure, actually? Because in my head, I'm wondering if it was meant to be an Ed 209 imitation. I vaguely remember a masculine voice.
It's the ship's computer, yeah.
Okay. There's a difference between the computer and the AI that's actually running it. And she is in WALL-E. I just don't remember.
Yes. Yeah. She gives a famously masculine performance as the ship's.
Yes. I prefer that one. Left field curveball.
I see.
Ripley has become the mother. You see.
No, it's very clever.
It's all very subversive.
No, but you're right. She was pretty good in this. I never realised how tall Sigourney Weaver was.
Sigourney Weaver is her sort of poor Southend-based imitation who does a very
Loft
broad
sister.
performance. Yeah.
She gets fish heads once a month. No, other than that, who else?
Jeffrey Tambor.
Jeffrey Tambor is cool.
Briefly, is always amazing, and here just playing a really, really shitty fucking author. What's this line when someone comes up to him and is like, "We need to hurry"? He just says like, "All right, fuck."
Yeah, just really what's the word? Just like a real like overt swear that really made me laugh. Jane Lynch was cool.
Oh yes, good old Jane Lynch. When she shows up as the waitress, it was just it was really nice because one of the things I liked about this film is it doesn't too heavily make fun of the nerds. Like, there's obviously characters in it who are going to be like fucking nerds. You're men, right? You guys are meant to be men.
Yeah.
But largely those were the bad guys who were doing it, except the time when Jason Bateman did it, I guess. Although maybe he was just, in cover for the fact he's really a good guy. It's a ruse.
Yeah, it was a ruse. It was a simple ruse.
A simple ruse that I fell for. So I find that it's not mean-spirited against nerds. It's not like, look at them, freaks. And the Comic-Con scene at the beginning was quite warm, and it's like, this is a nice little world, even though it's largely a commercial exercise. And Jane Lynch, Yeah, and Jane Lynch was part of that. She's really lovely to the two guys and is just a really charming character.
Yeah.
Well, that takes me back to the beginning of the very beginning of the film, in fact, where it's the shot of Peg and Frost waiting at the crossing, and they're like bumped into by a few like guys dressed up as aliens. As soon as you see their goofy faces and they have these big old like lumbering goofy walks, it was difficult to like feel anything but affection for the two of them. It like straight away, it's just like a really nice film.
Yeah, and of course, the moment they start talking to each other, and you realise, they pretty much stuck with the bromance that Peg and Frost have in real life, and they've just written that into it with Eggy and Sausage.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that worked really well for Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead and Spaced, rather, specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, Spaced. I will say this was the sort of least of their chemistry. I didn't feel it as strongly as I do in... no, actually, I take that back. World's End was worse for that. But this was the sort of second least of their chemistry. I didn't get much off the two of them together as friends.
No, and I think a lot of that is to do with the direction as well, and the sort of the flatter way that in which this was shot. I think it takes a lot out of it. There's a lot more intimacy, and it feels like less of a soundtrack, because you remember a lot of Edgar Wright movies by the fucking super cool soundtrack, but a lot more like close shots without music, or play to silence, where the emphasis is on all the thanks babe jokes in Spaced and Shaun of the Dead.
Well, they punctuate it with sound effects quite often, sort of cuts and things, which makes it more playful.
I just remember them feeling a lot more intimate than it did in this film. There's always something else going on in it, I think.
And of course, they have two very different trajectories in the film. So there's not as much them being pushed together, it's more them trying to grow as different people throughout the film. So that might have also taken precedent over the bromance in it.
They had a case of what I've heard referred to as the not gays, where it's very much a case of, no, guys, don't worry. Here's a female character for at least one of them to fall in love with. It's fine. Don't panic.
And then an Ewok for the other one at the end.
Yeah.
Which that was one of my big laughs at the beginning of the film. Actually, was him checking out the girl in the Ewok costume, like quite pointedly staring at her ass as she walks past in the Ewok costume.
Yeah. And I didn't notice first time. I only just noticed watching it just now that it's right after Simon Pegg quite pointedly stared at a Leia in slave costume. So doing the same thing, so it's kind of like a mirrored shot.
That was pretty good.
And then of course it leads up to the groaner of a line of just she was very nice.
No.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, Simon Pegg.
You boys.
Nick Frost.
Now,
whichever one of you they are. You're both.
They're both in there somewhere. How many references to previous Peg Frost writing did you happen to catch throughout this film? Because there were a fair number of them.
Oh, really? I mainly was distracted by all the references to various other pop culture things, various Spielberg, Star Wars, etc. references. I'm not sure I spotted many, apart from seeing Edgar Wright in the background of the selfie just there. Enlightened me.
Yeah, well, of course, I only wrote down a couple. So
okay,
I figured you guys.
That's a couple more. That's a couple more than I managed to observe.
Yeah, well, the big one that I felt, of course, is the fact that Nick Frost's character is called Clive. And it's close, near enough that it makes no difference for me that in Shaun of the Dead, it's like, do you want me to do the Clive, the monkey?
Oh, Clive from Every Which Way But Loose.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and the whole thing where in Shaun of the Dead he is just being like, do you want me to be the monkey? It's just, I think it's Clyde in that, but it's close enough for me.
It counts. Any court would accept that.
Exactly. And I've apparently lost my note.
Where
the hell is it? I mean, the other thing that I felt, it was just very British. So I think that might have been part of it. But at the end, when they're setting off the firework, they're like, let's set off, and it's like, no. What's the safe distance on this thing? It's like, I swear that's in Spaced somewhere. Like that's in where they're just that going over the details, as it were.
Whilst the thing is happening.
Yeah, it felt very much to me just like, oh, yeah, with a quick flashback to that. Which, I mean, given that it's written by the two people that were in that, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest. And the only other thing that I noticed in the film that I would realise was there's two things I realised were direct parodies of something. One of them being the Star Wars Cantina music in Western
in the
formats.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
and then you have the most overt one, which is Tara saying to the big guy, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Oh wow, yeah. Well, they were scattered throughout. I mean, there's a moment where the guy is about to shoot Nick Frost and says, "Smile, you son of a bitch," obviously from Jaws. The opening sequence was very Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and they go back to that mountain from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. What was the other one?
The shooting of the radio.
Bateman shoots his radio and says, boring conversation anyway, which is, of course, Han Solo. So, yeah, there's a lot of references in this, and I don't necessarily feel they added much.
Yeah, well, and there was one line when, I believe it's when the two hillbillies are... Oh, no, it's not the hillbillies, it's when the policeman is saying, like, no guns in England. They're just like, no, just farmers. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing.
I did enjoy some of the culture clash stuff. Like, there's a scene that I felt was very clever where the cop asks them, "Oh, so you guys are English, huh?" And they're like, "Yeah." "Do you guys know Benny Hill?" "No." And I felt that was a very clever reference to the fact that Benny Hill's much bigger in America than he is here in the UK.
Oh yeah, very much so.
So I quite appreciated that.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's kind of worldwide, but it's always like you say you're from somewhere, and the question is immediately, "Oh, do you know famous person from the same country?"
I did wonder that. I wondered if it was like, "Do you know personally?" But I chose to accept the interpretation that it meant, are you aware of his existence? Which I don't think it's entirely implausible that a British person could grow up and have never heard of Benny Hill.
Oh, see, the way I took it was he was asking if he was aware of, if they were aware of Benny Hill as an artist, and they thought that he meant, do they know him personally?
Oh, you thought that both of our things were correct, except for different people. How complicated.
Yeah, I like inclusion.
Yeah,
Can't we all win?
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times when I've been over here and someone's obviously figured out that I'm English, and they do just go, "Oh, do you know the Queen?" And it's like they're about 60% joking. And then I'm like, "Oh, maybe this is the person that knows the Queen." I can get it.
If you look very closely at a £5 note, you can see me in the background. I was there when they took that picture.
Yeah.
So you have to look very close, though. And then once they're looking closely, you run away.
Now, is that one of the new £5 notes or the old?
It is.
I have not seen any of the new currency since they've decided
they're lovely. It's like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I've heard that they're going the Canada route, basically. It's just make all of the notes plastic.
Yep, they're all plastic and offensive to certain religions. So they're very, very British. Inauthentic, but offensive.
Well, at least in England, it doesn't get hot enough to melt the money, which does happen in Canada occasionally.
Really?
Yeah, it can get during the summer in some areas of Canada. It can get so hot that the money starts to melt and bend.
That's amazing.
Okay, that's not something we have to worry about. Train tracks? Yes, but money apparently is solid against our weather.
Yes.
We have to stop making our train tracks out of chocolate. It's just a false economy.
But the Queen loves it, so
she does. You learn nothing from Willy Wonka?
Oh dear.
But I do like. I mean, there's a lot of Englishness to this film, which I like. I like the name Clive, for example. It's just such a British name, isn't it? It's like, should we go and eat sandwiches with Clive on the green?
Yes,
but what's his full name? Because I remember really Clive Gollins.
Gollings? Yeah.
Gollins. That's very British.
Clive Gollins.
Also, the writer Clive Gollins. I really appreciate that joke. It's like the actor Kevin Eldon. The writer Clive Gollins. That's a really great sci-fi name, and it's a great British name.
Yeah. And of course, Graham is not the artist Graham Willie. He's just Graham Willie.
Yeah, that's something we wondered actually, because he's once again portraying a graphic artist, very much like Tim from Spaced. And there's the alien picture he draws with the word "fuck off" written on it is very similar to Tim's artwork in Spaced. But we happen to know that all of Tim's artwork in Spaced was done by Edgar Wright's brother.
Yeah.
So we're wondering if he came back just to do a couple of sketches for Paul.
Probably.
Yeah, it would have made sense. I mean, the film was produced by Naira Park and Tim Bevan as well.
Yeah.
Who started off with Spaced with Edgar Wright.
A lot of the old gang here. It's strange that there's, apart from Pegg and Frost being in it, there's very little of the feel of those old British works in this.
Which you have an American director who
shows the real impact of the director on a project.
Yeah. I mean, his nationality isn't maybe not be anything to do with it, but with a totally different style. Again, Superbad, Adventureland. What was the other one?
He did a few. I think I closed them down now.
Yeah, I had the page open a minute ago, and now it's gone.
Here it is. Adventureland, Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. He's done television, including some Arrested Development. So I guess that explains Tambor and Bateman showing up.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, or rather not noticed so far, is that none of us have mentioned Paul. No one mentions Seth Rogen or the alien character in general. So
very true.
So why don't we talk about Paul for a little bit?
Let's talk about Paul. So I like Seth Rogen's performance.
So do I.
I think Seth Rogen in general is very funny. It's really hard for me to describe this, but I found Paul, the animation, not bad. It's really good CGI. I found the animation annoying. I found him as a character. Maybe something about his smile. It's hard for me to put my finger on it. But I'm watching him right now asking Frost whether or not he and Pegg are gay, and he's sort of mimicking, shoving various things up his ass.
Big fan of those jokes, by the way.
Big fan of those jokes.
Oh yes, very very clever. The constant "Are you gay?" joke.
And I do wonder if in the universe Clive actually does know what he's about to ask. He's just seeing how long it'll go for, because he's got a bit of a knowing smile as he keeps doing it.
No, I like the idea that's just blissful ignorance. That smile is just, I wonder what he means. This lovely spaceman.
Yeah.
I do agree. Sorry.
There you go.
No, I do agree with you about Paul and Seth Rogen. I'm usually a fan of Seth Rogen. I think he's a really funny guy, and a lot of the lines in this are pretty good. Where was that? What was the first? Oh, the whole like discussion they have about anal probing when he first shows up, and his general like flippancy, I think, is pretty cool.
Am I harvesting farts?
That's the one. Yeah, it was in context that was really good, and the CGI looked surprisingly good. Actually, I was in my memory, my crazy 2011 memory where I've invented people who went to the cinema with me. The CGI was always a bit dodgy, but it actually looks good.
Yeah, and the eyes on Paul as well are really well done.
Yes, he's got big reflective eyes. I think it's just something about the way he's filmed and captured, which is usually in a sort of 3/4 close-up, getting his shoulders and face, and his sort of raised eyebrows and big smile. I find it just a little bit, I don't know, cheesy or like overly knowing.
Do you feel like he is a bit smug just because he does know more than everyone else? Like, do you think he just feels smug and comes across that way?
There's an aspect of that, but I think mainly it's just the idea that, oh, you love this character, don't you? You know you do. He's great. Look at him. You love him. And the way he's filmed and the way he presents himself is that you love him in spite of the fact. And that's sort of being led very deliberately.
Yeah, I did feel a bit of an elbow in my side at all times, being like, hey, this guy's a bit of a joker, isn't he? Look, he's a fun one. Watch out. What's he going to do next?
They're trying to portray him as the Fonz. He's not quite there.
Yeah,
he's like 3/4 Fonz.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly sort of not funny all the time, but it was. I felt a lot better about it than I remember feeling about it the first time. But it's still something about it. I don't know whether it was the dynamic between him and Pegg and Frost didn't quite work, and whether that's just one of the pitfalls of having one animated character and everyone trying to interact with him or not.
Yeah.
But there was something that just felt a little bit off. Like the peak of that for me was the scene outside the RV at night when he gets both of them dancing.
I just watched that. Yeah.
I have a real issue with there was a spate of animated films like Megamind and things around that sort of period where when you didn't know how to end a scene or how to end a movie, everyone just did a big fucking dance.
Yes.
And that was a bit of a felt like that for me. They'd had a conversation, and it was like, come on, let's all have a dance. And it just there was just and there's a shot of Peg and Frost, sorry, wishful thinking, Peg and Frost looking at the alien and like smiling, like going, "Oh, this guy is incorrigible." Yeah. And I very much had this like sense of the two of them staring at nothing, pretending that a CGI alien was dancing. And it occasionally, I think, it just took me out of the moment. It's one of the things that took me out of the moment.
Very brief aside about that scene, Dancing in the Moonlight by Paul.
Come on, Paul, you can do it.
Oh, did you say Top Loader?
That's the one.
Thanks. Fucking hell. That was playing in that scene, and that felt like a very British tune to be playing, which I quite appreciated. I'm not sure if it was ever that big in the States, but I just, in my head, think of it as a very English thing. Are Top Loader actually Canadian or something? Are you going to tell me that?
They melt in the sun.
Oh, shit. They're made of chocolate.
Oh, those guys. I think they're English.
They sound English.
If only there was some way that we could look it up.
There's none at all.
And yes, they are British. They are from Eastbourne.
Can get much more British than that.
There you go.
Good old East Sussex, England. Ah, yes.
Postcode.
The old country.
Oh dear. Before we move on to something else, I do want to just, because it's about to happen in the movie as I'm watching it, Kristen Wiig swearing.
Kristen
Wiig swearing. Occasionally really landed well. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it felt like I would have liked it more, and it did eventually become that if it just didn't get commented on. Like it's okay, she's lost her faith, so she's just going to swear a whole bunch now. And I'd have liked it had none of the other characters reacted to that. But and eventually that is what happened after a certain point. But I particularly enjoyed early on when they ask her a very innocuous question, to which she replies, "You bet your big fat cock I will."
That was great.
That was great.
I do wonder exactly how much of that was just her going, okay, swear now. And
I love that. I really hope that was all improvised by her.
Yeah, it just reminds you just how great Kristen Wiig is.
Yeah, she's one of those actresses that just seem to come out of nowhere, and now she's like one of the biggest comedy actresses out there.
Well, it was Bridesmaids, wasn't it? I've got to say that I'm fairly ignorant on comedy film history. Really, there was a time when I just wasn't watching it, and so I have a lot of blind spots. And so I haven't actually seen Bridesmaids, but I think she was one of the sort of alumni from that, along with Melissa McCarthy.
Well, and she's the main character in Bridesmaids,
Yeah, so
did she do the SNL circuit?
Yeah, she was on Saturday Night Live for about 7 years.
Oh, okay. Again, I never watched Saturday Night Live, so I never know about those guys before they sort of get into movies.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't watch it that much. I've seen clips here and there, but I haven't watched it that much in quite a long time. And I think Bridesmaids was the first film she did after she left Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and so many of the people who are in that are now sort of huge.
Yeah, and I've heard great things about it as well.
Yeah.
Sadly, I think one of the only films I've seen Kristen Wiig in is Blokebusters, for God's sake. Ghostbusters. Oh, it's working. The advertising's working.
You've got better SEO than you've got Ghostbusters.
She was very good in Blokebusters. You did really well getting her on.
Yeah,
very insightful lady.
Exactly. And one day we'll release that episode to the general public.
They're not ready yet.
Yeah, no, she was great in Ghostbusters as well. I think she probably easily my favourite thing about that film.
Oh, come on, Kate McKinnon.
No, it just didn't work for me.
She was
she was overdoing it.
I think her and Chris Hemsworth made the film for me.
Chris Hemsworth was quite fun.
I did like Chris Hemsworth, and I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like I should just be sort of behind the main thrust of it, the 4 female Ghostbusters, but Chris Hemsworth.
I know we differ on this, but I was very fond of the lady whose name I've forgotten, the only Ghostbuster we haven't named yet.
I mean, there's technically 2. There's Melissa McCarthy,
The other one.
The other
What's
one.
her name? What's her name? You see, I don't think you know her name either.
No, I do.
will look it up.
I'm just letting you go because I want to see what I come up with. It's Leslie Jones, in case you're wondering.
Leslie Jones. I liked her a lot. Now, I am currently my researching hole is currently filled with trying to figure out if I've seen another film with Kirsten Wiig in it that I like a lot.
Kristen.
And I
That's where he's running into trouble. He just can't. He can't find the right person.
Kristen.
She was a voice
She's
in
an
her.
Martian?
Yeah,
voice
she's
in
a
her?
Martian. Yes.
Who is?
She's like the person that's running the department when you're seeing them on the screen, like all the data on the screen in the the headquarters. She's the one running that.
Oh, check this out though. She's in Mother.
Yeah, I saw that.
She's going to be in Downsizing.
She's about to be in a movie called The Heyday of the Insensitive Bastards, which sounds great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's in Downsizing. I can't wait to see that in a few weeks.
Yeah.
She was in... What else have I seen her in?
I don't know. I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Tell me. I don't know.
I say Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
I have not.
Okay.
Oh, she did A Drunk History. That's pretty cool.
How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2.
Yep, I like those a lot. I can't remember who Ruffnut is. That might be the love interest. In which case, she did a good job.
But she's great.
She is great. We can all agree on that.
Yes.
Oh, forgetting Sarah Marshall, I remember that. She was the yoga instructor who was really sort of belligerent to Jason Segel when he's trying to sort of do fat drunk yoga.
Have you guys seen either of the Wet Hot American Summer Netflix series?
No.
Have you seen Wet Hot American Summer?
No.
Okay. Number 1, watch Wet Hot American Summer. Number 2, watch both the Netflix. She's in that in a few episodes. She's very good in that.
She was also really good in, I think the first thing I probably saw her in and didn't even realise it was her until I just looked it up, is that she played Bra Bra in Flight of the Conchords, the crazy lady who lost her dog, and both Brett and Jermaine go looking for it in order to try and impress her.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really funny role. So, yeah. Anyway,
so
cool.
Good on Kristen Wiig.
I actually, when I was watching it, it was pretty much the opening, not the opening scene, but the opening of the film. I wrote down my one good thing for it, if you were interested, and it is when it's after Clive and Graham get into the RV, and then the orcs get into the car and just throw the money on the ground. So the guy just yells out, "Just fucking orcs!" I enjoyed that line. That was a good line.
Oh man, I didn't even pick. I've got a lot of good things here, a long list. Let me see if I can pick out what my favourite one was.
There are a lot of good good things about this. I really like the line in the bar fight. Of oh shit, sailors, when they get
that
pushed,
was fun.
The big hillbillies get pushed into them.
Yeah.
major threat, everyone, is these sailors in like the the pristine white caps and like blue collars and things.
Yeah, very stereotypical sailors.
Yeah.
I'm going to dedicate my one best thing of this to the character I felt got a really rough deal and was just sort of literally thrown off a cliff. With no ceremony, and that is Bill Hader's character, the FBI guy. And my favourite line he said during the movie is, after a pretty poorly executed joke where he was hiding behind a cactus, which I felt was poor because it was very obvious he would be behind the cactus, so I was hoping he would turn out to be somewhere else in the frame, that maybe he would just step out from behind the other guy or something, just something to surprise me, but it didn't. He was behind the cactus. But so he runs over, and the two are talking about something serious, and he quickly bursts into frame and says, "I was hiding."
Yeah. I mean, Bill Hader is just consistently hilarious, I think, in just about everything that I've seen him in. I to the extent that I wouldn't mind seeing him in SNL, because he might... I've never quite got on with SNL. I think it's just one of those things that escapes me with sort of British sensibilities, but I feel like Bill Hader would be consistently funny in SNL as well, because he's just brilliant in everything I've seen.
Yeah.
I was really happy to remember that he was in this, actually.
Oh, he voiced the lead character in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's excellent.
Yes.
And Thea in Inside Out. Very good voice guy.
Yeah, he's one of those people that when he does voices, he's able to change it enough that you don't necessarily notice it's him. I would say his main role in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and his main role in Inside Out are totally different. Like
I'd say so.
I know they're the same guy. So
You wouldn't say that about Paul and the head sausage out of Sausage Party.
No, but then again, I think Seth Rogen, not quite along the same lines as Gilbert Gottfried, but he does have a bit of a recognizable voice. So.
Does Rob?
He does, and for him it works because that's kind of his shtick. And again, actually, it's a shame that Seth Rogen was kind of trapped in an alien's body in this, and he wasn't just playing a character with Seth Rogen's body, because he's pretty great as well. I haven't seen many films where I don't like him. In fact, in Superbad, he and Bill Hader play like beat cops almost. They get called to a house party to break it up, and the two of them side by side are just fucking fantastic. Yeah, that would have been. I mean, Seth Rogen might even have been my one better thing, my one good thing if he'd have been in it in his big corporeal form.
Yeah, I think it would have been great if Seth Rogen had been the big guy. Like, if it turns out that he's...
Oh, that would have been complicated. And the aliens were doing like a shitty impression of him the whole time.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen.
Or it could just be that because Seth Rogen's character has been in charge of him for so long, that's just why he sounds like him. It's been around.
Yeah, 60 years. I mean, yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, neat. Okay, is there anything else to discuss on this one?
I did just want to point out actually another great comedy moment, which was my favourite bit of physical humour, which was the revolving slap that Jason Bateman delivers to one of the FBI guys. Yes. I can't remember which one it is, but he's got his back to him and he says something stupid when they're on the phone trying to get Kristen Wiig's location, and without even really looking at him, his whole body turns with his arm outstretched and just delivers a full open palm slap around the side of his face. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just a physical comedy.
Yeah, that's he does that to Agent O'Reilly because he's talking about spaceman balls. It's just whack.
That's right. He keeps picking it up, sort of Donnie-like.
Yeah. And then Haggard slaps him as well the next time.
Yeah.
But as Stephen Fry says, the true comedy is often not in the person delivering the slap, but the person receiving it. And the guy out of Brooklyn Nine-Nine is very good at taking a slap.
Yeah, in fact, I think the person that I've seen, of course Stephen Fry would know, because the person that I've seen react the best to any form of slap is Hugh Laurie.
That's it. That's why he was saying it. Hugh Laurie is just a master at taking a good punch or cricket bat around the head.
Yeah, I mean, Blackadder really is always fun to watch, and then a bit of Fry and Laurie is on Hulu over here.
Yeah. And, that's brilliant. I hope everybody's watching it because it's superb.
Yeah, one of my favourite bits in that entire series is when Hugh Laurie sings a savage, angry song about jars that are separated from their lids. And he just sings a song just like, where is the lid? And then you just see Stephen Fry in the background find the lid. So he just comes up to us like, shoot, it's here. And he just keeps singing, does anyone know? I do. Does anyone know? It's right here, Hugh. And so he ends up just punching him in the stomach. So Hugh hits the ground and then it turns into an in memoriam for Hugh Laurie. He's just died. It's just one of my favourite moments that they've done. Really good.
I love that show. It was so subversive and even though it was largely based around sort of witty dialogue exchanges and wordplay, it was still definitely not above just occasionally hitting Hugh Laurie over the head with a cricket bat.
No, yeah,
which I think is the perfect blend of comedy. Really, Monty Python did the same thing. These outrageously intelligent guys, but definitely not above a perfect sight gag.
Yeah, and it also helped to showcase just how talented Hugh Laurie is because he can play the harmonica, the guitar, and the piano, and the kazoo, and he can sing in multiple accents, and he's funny. It's just not fair.
Paul, I'm at the slapping scene, so I'm going to look out for... Did you say it was Bill Hader who delivers the slap, or...
I thought it was Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman slaps him first, and then it's Bill Hader that slaps him again, and then Jason Bateman slaps Bill Hader. So
yeah,
it's
a very complicated slap exchange.
Yeah,
it reminded me a bit of. Sorry,
it's almost a Three Stooges-esque type thing where it's just go around.
Well, interestingly, it reminded me of the slaps that Mother gives her children in Futurama.
Oh yeah.
Which very inventive slapping.
Yes, and generally following a one-line along the lines of "shove a bastard in it, you crap."
Yes.
And yeah, Sigourney Weaver's performance actually reminded me quite a bit of Mother from Futurama. It's ironic because she's also voiced a character in Futurama.
Yeah.
But yeah, her sort of screaming at Jason Bateman was sort of Mother-esque. Oh, you're right. That is a good slap.
Yep.
Yeah.
He very casually just sort of turns his whole body around with the arm already extended and just catches him on his way out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pinpoint, isn't it? I should probably mention at this stage that the house explosion looks excellent.
Yes, speaking of
it's
action
real
sequences.
Yeah.
Like with the slapping. Yes, the house explosion was great. And so was Simon Pegg's chest shot. That was really gross. Like once he'd been shot, it just sort of squelched out of him. There was some good practical effects in this. And the house looked like an actual place they blew up.
Yeah.
That was, thanks for reminding me, that was another thing that reminded me of Spaced. Like when Nick Frost's character gets shot in paintball, it's just like,
that's great.
Oh god, yeah.
He starts spitting out paint.
Well, the very end, the way that they dispatched the big guy, I really enjoyed that because the first time I watched it, it literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was. I enjoyed not knowing exactly how they were going to get out of it, and then it was just. I know some people would say it's a bit of a cop out, really, just immediately get rid of him, but I liked it.
Yeah. So I just thought of another good Kirsten Wiig moment I liked immediately after the house explosion. Kristen! She starts running back towards the explosion in order to check her dad's okay, and then when he sort of stumbles to his feet, he's like, "Yep, he's alive. Let's go." And he sort of turns around and starts running again.
Yes, that was excellent.
Yeah, and just run away, just like, leave us alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear. Does anyone else have anything they specifically want to mention?
List. A good line to end it on. If you do have anything else, fair enough. But I have a good line to end it on.
Well, I just had another note that I did like that in the entire film, Seth Rogen's character is the most normal, in inverted commas, out of all of them, with the possible exception of Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else is just weirder in some way than the alien.
The alien. Yeah.
Just, whatever.
Yeah.
That is true. I quite like the twist where it did turn out that Jason Bateman's character was the good guy. I think I might have said that earlier, actually, but
you did.
It took me by surprise.
And I thought you were going to say the twist that his name was Lorenzo Zoil.
Yes, that twist as well was a real revelation to me.
And I think if
Lorenzo
I remember
Zoil,
correctly,
I just got it.
Yeah, I remember correctly. I hope that in one of the commentaries for it, they mentioned that look that he gives them right after they say his name is supposed to imply that is the first time he has ever understood what his name sounds like.
That's really cool.
But yeah, I think there was just one line that I wrote down that I was just like, well, that's kind of typical Simon Pegg esque line, which is when they're running away from the hillbillies and Nick Frost's character says, they're probably going to break her arms and rape us, and Simon Pegg just goes, I don't want my arm broken. That felt like pretty much every Simon Pegg character, with the exception of Nick Angel, I think. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I think even though the jokes are very similar in this, and the dynamic between Pegg and Frost is very similar, the joy in Shaun of the Dead and Spaced and Hot Fuzz is that the world around them is crap and kind of in a very English way.
Yeah.
And everything is done. It's on a massive scale. Yeah, it's on a very small scale as well. It's a very unique thing, and I feel like this film, and I don't know why, whether it was the different director or the fact that they, it's set in America, or they wanted to just tell a different, maybe slightly bigger story. That it kind of the seriousness or realness of the world jars a little bit with the comedy. So when you in Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, when you have that massive serious shootout, it's done in this tiny village square, and they're facing off against a florist and a vicar and the owner of a hotel and so on and so forth. But in this, like, you've got FBI and you've got whatever is above them who deal with aliens, the Fringe Division, whatever. And it reminded me a little bit when Jason Bateman was doing serious Jason Bateman. It reminded me of the agents in that episode of Spaced, the first episode of series 2.
Kevin Eldon.
Yes, and Mark Gatiss. And
oh my God, so it is.
Yeah, and it strayed a little too close to that, but unintentionally, I think. And I guess that's what happens when you try and do it with a bit more sincerity than sort of the slathered irony in other Peg Wright Frost films.
Yeah. And apparently Bateman based his character off of Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive, so maybe that's
right. That makes sense.
It could just be that obviously he was basing it off of someone like very serious, but maybe it was just a bit too serious for the film, given that every other character is out there. And he's very much not. So.
But then I did like the performance, like in and of itself. I thought it was pretty good, and he had some really good lines, as to like shoot down the ridiculous FBI agents. Were they FBI agents?
Yes, I believe they were rookies in the FBI. So.
Yes.
I did think it was kind of interesting that I get the feeling that all new FBI agents are kind of like those two. They're just like, oh, we've got a job now. Yeah, let's get this.
I love anything that's willing to portray sort of members of authority, and particularly American members of authority, as just being very childish. Like that was something that David Lynch did in Twin Peaks: The Return. Is that all the FBI agents are just grossly incompetent and kind of like kids? Like at some point they're like, should we investigate this? Yes, Paul, that's what we do at the FBI. I love that.
I feel like we should get the Federal Bureau and go and investigate somehow. I don't know. I was trying to think, like, you mentioned Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz, I think, is one of the best at laying down little things here and there and then paying them off so well later. For instance, when they're doing the crossword and it's fascist and hag, and that's what they shout out at each other during the shootout. And
loves that.
And this film, I feel it tries really hard to do it, and some of it hit, but then some of it is just like, oh yeah, okay, that was a callback, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah. It's half that and half visual cues as well to sort of help you like lodge those moments in your brain, I think. And it was just the right influence, right WRIGHT influence was
the right influence.
Yeah, the right influence is conspicuous in its absence, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like shackle them down and say, well, the problem with this is it's not similar enough to their old films, because no one wants to hear that, and it's not.
It's
legit.
just a case of this doesn't quite work, and we want to know why it doesn't quite work, and so the nearest point of reference is to look at the stuff that they've done which does work, and so and therefore try and figure out what it is that's lacking. That means that we're just not quite invested in this. By the way, sorry, I just got to the scene where Simon Pegg wakes up and they've written something on his forehead. Did anyone get that joke? Like, what did they write? I don't...
it says, gone back to the RV, and then it's an X and then R. On it says... So the joke is the fact that Paul says it in that deadpan, just like, she's gone back to the RV. And it's like, of course, reading minds. It's like, nope.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but that was a bit too forced, I thought. I don't know if it was just like the way that Seth Rogen decided to read that, and it just made it like, oh, okay, maybe it just fell flat because its delivery was flat. I don't know.
Could have been any number of things, but there was a bit of drawing attention to jokes and lingering on them for a bit too long. And again, you don't really get a chance in. Sorry, but you don't get a chance in Edgar Wright films to linger on anything.
Move on.
Take Scott Pilgrim as an example. There is no lingering in that film.
It's a frenetic film.
The only film my wife has walked out of that one.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah, she's not a fan of anime. In fact, she hates anime. So that didn't help.
There wasn't stylings.
Yeah, and when I was watching Scott Pilgrim, I was like, okay, this is going to be one of my favourite films now. And it wasn't until like she walked out and I was trying to think why. I was like, oh yeah, this is a live action anime, isn't it? Like, that's exactly what that film is. And so that's,
Yeah.
By the way, she didn't justify it at all. She just stood up and left.
yeah, she did.
Oh, okay.
She just leant over and was just like, I'm just gonna leave now. I think it was only after he defeated the second X. So that was when she walked out. So I followed her to make sure she was alright, and then she told me to go back in for the shit, so I missed a little bit of the film the first time I saw it.
Was the second X Chris Evans as the stunt guy?
Yes,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious.
That's actually hilarious. You see, I saw that movie just the once, but it's just, I'll never forget the sort of things in that movie. It's so memorable.
Yeah,
Punching the number in with a gun.
Yeah.
And the bit was just like, oh, is Scott here? And it's just, oh, and then he judged through the window. He just left.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I really love Kieran McCulkin in that movie as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't remember the specifics of the gag, but it's something like, how did you already find out about that? And it turns over and Kieran's like, what's he doing? Is he like...
He's just texting.
He's asleep with the phone in his hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
There are just, but again, that's a film where there's so much detail. Like he'll go into that house party, and he walks past a guy who's saying something like completely asinine, like, "Oh, their first album's so much better than their first album," and then like later on at one of the gigs that they play, there's somebody in the crowd saying, "They're so much better live," like, better than this, and it's like characters out of a Woody Allen film. Everybody is just so vapid, but yeah, just the detail is kind of what's missing from something like this.
Yeah.
I've got to say, sorry, it's really been quite revolutionary for me to have the movie running as we've been discussing this, because I just saw another moment I'd like to highlight, which is the little kid. The little kid that they meet in the comics.
Yes.
The ginger kid with the glasses.
He's
great. Yes, because he just steals the fucking comic, which Paul supports for some reason, even though, it's a local business. But then later on, he just comes back and kicks that guy in the balls.
Yeah.
With no real understanding of what's going on.
Yeah. And then I do like the reaction as well. Like, who's that kid? It's just like,
That's Keith Nash.
Oh, that's great. And he looks like the kid out of Hot Fuzz, Aaron A. Aronson.
Oh, yeah. That actually took me 2 viewings to get that joke, because I had forgotten
Me too.
about the, just go through the phone book, are we? Start with Aaron A. Aronson.
Yeah, it's like, why does Simon Pegg respond, sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that took a while for me to get too.
Same here.
Yeah,
But that's what's great about Edgar Wright, that it's so
Layers.
dense. Yeah,
The onion of cinema.
There were a couple
Another
of
onion. Perfect.
another onion. There were jokes in this I didn't get, but that's largely because I think I wasn't paying enough attention.
You were facing the wrong.
Again.
Who will cover that next time?
What was the final line that you had, Paul, that you wanted to close on? Salt.
So,
Yeah.
the final line I had was the very last line of the film, which I quite liked. It's a shame it was then sort of followed up by the montage, which we didn't necessarily need. But they've seen Paul go off in his spaceship, and he says,
very slowly.
Takes off very slowly. I like that line as well, which actually was a gag I made before they did, which isn't great. You always want to make the gag slightly before the audience figures it out.
Yeah.
But after that, the ship's gone, and they're all just sort of left there, these very disparate characters, and Nick Frost just says, "Oh, that was good, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
I like that. It's a very crap British thing to say. So
Yeah, it's like the film went on 2 seconds too long, and like it was after the end of the movie. It's like the happily ever after, and then get me coat then.
So yeah, with regards to this conversation, perhaps we might say, "Oh, that was good, wasn't it?"
Yeah. I did happen to receive a text from Brian with his thoughts on the film, and it is simply, it appears to be a passable Seth Rogen vehicle. There we go.
That's one way of looking at it. Or maybe it's a passable Frost Pegg. Nixon. Frost Nixon vehicle.
A very passable Frost Nixon, yes.
Their
best comedy
requirements.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of summing it up, I suppose. It's passable, but given the history of sort of Pegg Frost, right, disappointing.
Yeah. And Rogen and director, just everyone involved. A little bit disappointing. Yeah.
And with that bombshell, I feel like we should bring this conversation to a close then. So, one more time then, guys, where can people get a hold of you if they want to contact you or listen to you or so on and so forth?
Well, they can follow us on Twitter at OGTPod and Facebook at OGTPod. We've got an email address, which is ogtpod@gmail.com. It's all very straightforward. You can listen to us on iTunes. We've got a lot of our episodes on YouTube, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, straight at the source, but any other podcast app, really.
Alright, and I didn't do it at the beginning, so I'll do it here as well. Those of you that have been listening to this, obviously you've been listening to the Blokebusters feed, so thanks for finding us. But if you want to get a hold of us in any way, you can follow us on Twitter at Blokebusters, Facebook.com/Blokebusters, we're on Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com because Muggins here forgot the second S. And we have a website, blokebusters.webs.com, which should be up to date probably at the time of this recording. So go and see if it still is at that point. Thanks for coming on, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been fun.
Yeah, no problem. And Brian has said that he will do a solo Life of Brian review to make up for his absence here today. So.
Oh, no. There's got to be a terrible film that's got the word Brian in it. Can't be allowed to get away with that.
I'm sure there is, but alright, why don't you guys sift through your suggestions and then let us know if you find one with Brian in the title.
Well, it can never hurt to talk about one of the greatest comedies of all time and have a bit of positivity in our lives.
The Brian Identity.
I think he enjoyed that one, so that might have to look again.
The Most Violent Brian. Very big fan.
Brian. This could go on a while.
Yeah, I'm sitting in front of Paul's DVD collection, so I could really go on for years.
Well, before that happens...
Brian Club?
The Breakfast Brian.
Breakfast at Brian. God, I'm in front of my horror collection, so I'm Get Brian,
the Wicker Brian,
the Wicker Brian.
Don't Look Brian.
Brian the 13th.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
So, with all that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been Paul.
And I've been Paul.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Okay.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.